Good to go? Thank you. Welcome to the Infrastructure Planning and Assets Committee for this morning, and I'll commence by giving the acknowledgement of country. Ipswich City Council respectfully acknowledges the traditional owners as custodians of the lands, winds and water we all share. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging as the keepers of the traditions, customs, stories and culture of a proud people. Thank you. I will now seek I'll give those in attendance, do I? We have in attendance this morning the Deputy Chair of the Committee, Councillor Tully. We have Mayor Harding, we have Councillor Johnnick, Councillor Madden, and I believe that we have Councillor Cullen who is joining us through the Teams network online. So do we have any declarations of interest around the table? Councillor Cullen, do you have any declarations of interest?
No, Chair, I don't. Thank you. I think my mic's working, is it?
Thank you. I just wish to provide notice in accordance with section 150 ET4 of the Local Government Act. I previously declared a declarable conflict of interest, which is in relation to the item 3, the Planning and Environment Court Action Status Report. This will only be obviously required if there's any discussion on the matter. But I previously declared a declarable conflict of interest regarding that report. The matter related to one of the companies that is mentioned in the court action status being New Grow. I believe at the time I was I believe at the time I was able to remain in the meeting and vote on the matter. I must admit this is the first time I've made one of these declarations. Mayor, can you give me some guidance? Is that how that is done?
Yes, I think it's up to you, Chair, if you would like to either leave the meeting while it's discussed, or if you would like for the councillors to decide if there was a conflict of interest.
Oh, well, I am, well, it is a receiver note report, so I was intending just to remain and not discuss the matter, but it has been previously declared, so is there any, what is the usual process?
It has been declared in the past, but now that you've declared it again, it must be dealt with.
Oh, okay, very good. So is there anyone who wishes to make a motion to that effect?
Let's...
Sorry,
I guess, sorry, Chair, asking how you'd like to have it dealt with and...
Oh, well, I'm happy for the matter to be determined by the councillors.
Okay. I note, Chair, that you have declared the nature of your conflict in the past, and we have asked if there was anything personal or financial in the past. So I'll ask that again. Is there a personal or financial benefit anything to do with New Grow?
None.
Right, okay. Any other questions? So I'll move that Councillor Andrew Antonelli participates and votes on item 3 in today, which is the Planning Environment Court Action Status Report, because there is no personal financial benefit to him, and therefore a reasonable person would trust that the final decision is made in the public interest. Is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
I think Councillor Tully seconded that first.
The motion has been put. All those in favour? Councillor Cullen?
Noting that it's unanimous in the chambers.
Yeah, so all councillors have voted in the chamber. Councillor Cullen, what's your determination?
Yeah, I vote with that.
Thank you. Please note for the record that I did not vote for that matter, and the matter is carried. Is there any business outstanding? None. Item 1 being Stone Quarry Cemetery Community Consultation. Do we have any questions in relation to that report?
I have a question, Chair.
Yes, Councillor Madden.
It's whether the Muslim community in Ipswich has been consulted about that matter.
Through the chair, I may get Alicia Connaughton, Compliance Manager, to discuss the consultation process and engagement with people of that faith.
In saying that, Chair, I have two mosques in Division 4.
Alicia Connaughton, Manager Compliance. In regards to that question, the notice of motion started with members of the Camira Mosque and us consulting with them, but overall from the entire community, the representatives of the Islamic community have been the Islamic Council of Queensland, the Muslim Funeral Support, if I pronounce this correctly, the Al Huda Group and local mosque leaders and members, and then the continued communications with the imams of the Camira Mosque. Just, if I double check with Graham, who managed or was involved in the community consultation, he might be able to say, or identify if mosques from your area were included. So yeah, I guess no specific imams or mosques from Div 4.
Any further questions, Councillor Madden?
I am a little bit disappointed that the two mosques located in Division 4, they weren't consulted about this issue.
Yeah, I'm not overly familiar with the religion itself, but I do understand that there are subtle differences between some of the mosques in Ipswich. So, is there any? Do you feel that there's a need for there to be further consultation on the matter?
I'd like to have and as you say, there are subtle differences. One is a Shia mosque, one is a Sunni mosque, and they have very different views on all issues to do with the Muslim faith. And I would think that given that this cemetery is located in Ipswich, we should consult with the mosques in Ipswich.
Understood. Is there any further questions? Is there any further questions around the table? Councillor Cullen?
I tend to agree with Councillor Madden. I just didn't realise that they hadn't been consulted. So, yeah.
Okay. Before we there's no further questions. We'll then go into discussion. Any discussion around the table?
Chair, we need to move and second before we have a discussion.
Fair enough. Thank you. Do we have a mover for the report? Moved by Councillor Jonick, seconded by Mayor Harding. I'll just wait for the changeover between the acting CEO and the CEO. No, that's all right. CEO. Take your time. We'll just for your reference, still on item 1, and we're just entering discussion. So is there any discussion around the table?
You moved it. Did you wish to speak first? No, I want to thank the organisation for this report, and I note that Councillor Jonick did bring it forward from requests from the community, and I note that when it did come to us last year, in particular, Council asked that the Willowbank Area Residents Group was consulted, and for Mr George Hatchman, who was the founder of that group, was consulted. I've spoken with Mr Hatchman, and not only was he consulted, but he did say Council Officer Mr Schultz took him up to the cemetery several times to go through it, and his main matters, I think, from the community there was to make sure that things were signed properly so we could see where the different denominations are. It was very important that the historical aspects there of everything from First Nations, Jebrapilli, he'd love the walk to be called Jebrapilli Walk, as well as European, whether it's Christian or Islamic faith, is recognised in there, and also to make sure that there's some separation between the different areas. And for the signage. So just passing that on from the community. In regards to the consultation that's been raised, I guess what I would ask for, I would consider that the, pardon me, will I find the exact name of the group? That the Islamic Council of Queensland, I'd be interested to know if the two mosques here in Division 4 are a member of that group or not, because you would think that they'd be speaking on behalf of them. And I'm actually not sure if there's a difference between the cemeteries for the Sunnis and the Shias. So I guess I guess I'd be wondering if those mosques are part of the Islamic Council of Queensland, because then would they be representing them? Yeah. I guess we can find that out between now and next week for the council meeting.
Is there any further discussion? Do we?
If I could make one thing, if I could ask the organisation to include the actual concept design in the community engagement report. There's no diagram of it. There's diagrams of what the walkways could look like and signage could look like, but the actual concept diagram on the shape of Ipswich, I think the report would be enhanced if that was there as well. If I could, and whether change a.
I don't believe that requires an amendment at all, but we can have that included in the report for council next week. Is that correct?
Correct, and noting the other issues discussed, we could seek to clarify the relationship between local mosques and Islamic Queensland.
And I would concur if they are not, then I think they definitely need to be included in the consultation. But I do thank the organisation for engaging the Willowbank Area Residents Group so wholeheartedly, and Mr Hatchman as well. They were very pleased with the engagement they've had.
Is there? Do we need to include that level of consultation in the recommendations at all today? Or does anybody feel that we need to?
I'm a bit of a belt and braces person. If we're asking the council to do something, then before
Yes.
before the ordinary council, maybe we should have a couple of recommendations to say, one, that the two mosques are consulted and we give an update to see if they're members of that council, and two, that concept design is included in the engagement report.
Through the chair, might I suggest that we engage with Islamic Queensland to determine if they are a member and if they've been consulted, noting that the consultation was not specifically a targeted consultation, but an open consultation where anyone could make comment on the Shape Your Ipswich page.
That's correct.
Depending upon the outcome of that investigation, we could discuss a amended recommendation, if required, for the council meeting.
So are the members happy with the...
I'd be happy with that, Chair.
Councillor Cullen?
Yeah, I acknowledge that this was probably something that was obviously started prior to us getting elected, and I tend to agree with Mayor Teresa in doing those couple of recommendations. Thank you.
Chair, may I move a change to the recommendation, one that the report, that report on the Stone Quarry Cemetery community consultation be received and noted. B, that the final designs come back to council or to this committee for approval.
Say again, sorry.
That the final design for the cemetery come back to this committee.
As an additional recommendation,
Yes,
E?
as recommendation B.
B.
Oh, for consideration. I mean, that the final designs come back to this committee.
Sorry,
for
I'm looking at
consideration.
the executive summary recommendations rather than the recommendations, the formal recommendation.
And
yes.
C, that any signage for the cemetery also come back to this committee or IPA for consideration. Or maybe I should say that all signage, not any, all signage.
Do we need the word also in there?
Yeah, I was going to say, can I just, for B, can we say final results come back to the Infrastructure Planning and Asset Committee for consideration? Thank you.
Is it an accurate reflection of your amendment?
Thank you. I'll just check with the in C, probably a capital C for the committee, the word. I'll just check. I'm not sure. The mover, if you're...
Yes, I was going to.
I'm happy with that.
The mover's happy with the amendment?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Very good. I believe that that is now the recommendation. All those, if there's no further discussion, I put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Sorry, before I continue, Councillor Cullen, were you in favour?
In favour, thank you.
Thank you. So that's unanimous. Thank you. Item 2, which is just the minutes of the previous meeting for receive and adoption, or receive and... and noting. I'll just wait till our committee team are... We're good? Thanks, Vicky. The minutes of the Infrastructure Planning and Assets Committee held on the 11th of June be confirmed. Is there a mover? Well, I'll move that. Is there a seconder to that motion? Seconded, Councillor Tully. Any questions? Discussion? All those in favour? Councillor Cullen?
Affirmative.
Thank you. All in favour? That's carried unanimously. Item 3. Planning and Environment Court Action Status Report. Is there any questions in relation to this report? Question from Councillor Tully.
Yeah, it's to the relevant officer in relation to a matter on the in relation to Division 2, and we might need to go into a closed session in relation to that matter.
Is that Hatburg nominees?
I'm just looking, what's the...
Yeah, Harburg nominees. That's a live appeal, and the questions I ask would probably trigger the requirement to... I don't have the specific wording, if you could consider moving that.
Yes, I'll move that.
Chair.
No. Just trying to get the right subsection. Court matters. Which one? Illegal. Oh, illegal, yeah. I move that in accordance with section 254J, subsection 3, E, that we close them, go into closed session. Oh, that's of the local government regulation. The meeting move into closed session to discuss the nature of the report. Thank you. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Tully. Any discussion? All those in favour? Councillor Cullen?
Yeah, affirmative.
Thank you. That's carried. The meeting is now in closed session. If I can just ask I'll just wait till the door's opened, Harrison, before. Oh, yeah, we have now returned to open session. Is there any further discussion on the matter? I put the recommendations. The recommendation is that it be received and the contents noted. All those in favour? Seconder? Councillor Johnnick. All those in favour? Councillor Cullen?
Affirmative.
Thank you. That's carried. Item 4. Exercise of delegation report. Is there any questions in relation to the report?
If I may, Chair, may I direct this through you, Chair, to Mr Davey. In regards to development application 3633/2024 MCU, which is the 83 Mill Street, Rosewood, I note that it's not on this report. Will it be coming next month? It was the train crew depot.
Yes, Mayor, because this report has ceased on the 28th of June, so this is for a period of time between the 27th of May and 28th of June, so it will be on the next report to committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Any further questions? No further questions. Any discussion? No discussion. The recommendation is to be received and contents noted. Do I have a mover? Councillor Tully, seconder. Councillor Johnnick. All those in favour? Councillor Cullen?
Affirmative.
Thank you. That's carried. We hope you get well soon, Councillor Cullen. Item 5, just a change in general managers now, I believe. Just wait till that transaction has happened. Is there, before I actually, while they're doing that, I'll just find out whether there's any questions. Yes, there is, group. No? You can. So item 5 is relates to a personal tribute in application in an open space or road network. Is there any questions of the officer?
If I may, Chair. Yep. Mr Anderson, thank you very much for bringing this to Council, and I hate to be the governance person. I note that the application itself is not complete, and I'm querying why an incomplete application has come to Council. Most of the fields are not filled in, and no documentation or support to some of the claims have been made. So I'm just wondering why it proceeded to Council when it hasn't been,
Through you, Chair, I might ask Tony Dillio to talk to this detail, or Mark Baston, who's managed the process.
May I ask you to come to the please?
Good morning, Mark Baston, Team Lead, Open Space and Facilities.
Through the Chair, thank you, Mr Baston. Thank you for bringing this forward to us. I'm just asking why this has come to us when the application hasn't been completed. And in particular, there's some claims that some things were well documented. I've done a Google search and can't find anything, and there's no documentation attached to this.
Well, that's a fair call. In terms of, I guess, the content that the applicant provided was deemed reasonable enough to actually submit to Council in terms of, I guess, his father's historical connection in terms of to Rosewood. So I do take your point that it was incomplete technically.
Okay, so the application hasn't been completed and it's come to Council.
Yeah, there
Thank
does
you, Mr.
appear to be
Baston.
just some elements missing. I see a...
I'll raise it in discussion. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr Baston.
Thank you. Yeah, so
I've got a question as well.
Yeah, before you go, Mark, sorry. Yes, Councillor Tully.
I know there's some related issues with the next item as well. These plaques, who pays for them, and is there a standard size or typical wording? I know everyone's different, but who pays for them?
The applicant pays for it. In terms of sizing, no, there is no standard sizing.
That would be subject to council approval?
In terms of the design, yes. Yep.
And wording?
Within reason, as long as there's no, anything offensive in that nature.
Yeah, but council would have to approve the wording?
Yes, before it's installed, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes, CEO.
Sorry, when you say yes to council approval, could you clarify where the delegated approval sits?
That would be councillor officers.
Yep. Thank you.
Sorry, mate.
I was going to say, perhaps it would be useful for you to talk us through a case, how that might occur, so the process is well understood.
Okay, I guess one example which sticks in my mind was may have even been 22 or early 23, but in terms of the gentleman who did the designs for the bridges in Narromah Gardens, he passed away, and his wife, that was probably more of a personal tribute. So in terms of, that was engagement with council officers, in terms of with councillors, locations. So it was fairly engaging between ourselves and the family, and that was well received.
Is there any other questions? I'd like to ask a question if there isn't. Yes, Councillor Madden.
Just two questions. Firstly, do you think it'd be a benefit when this application is completed to have the actual words that are proposed on the plaque to be included in the application?
Yes, I take your point. In the actual application, my glasses on. The applicant does make reference, small plaque on the same pole as a dedication with the name, birth year and year of death in terms of for the applicant's father.
Well, that's descriptive, but it's not the actual words.
No, it's not.
You
So.
know. And the second question is, I note the date of the application is the 30th of January 2024. Just want to confirm that the two previous councillors for Division 4 were given a copy of the application and consulted before it appeared on the council agenda for today's committee meeting?
I don't believe so, no.
And Councillor, I can confirm I wasn't consulted either, as
And I
the council
take
for the
it
entire city?
I take it the current councillors for Division 4 have not been consulted. Is that
I
correct?
can confirm that we haven't been consulted.
Look, I don't think anybody here is questioning the merits of the application nor the bona fides of the person involved to be named on the plaque, but there appears to be a few questions that need to be addressed, a few matters applicable to the application that we need to see before it can progress. So I might, unless there's any further discussion, I'm wondering whether we ask the matter to be deferred to a future meeting.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Chair. In particular, the form has to be completed. There's a reason why each of the fields are there. Most of the fields are not completed. I can only see, apart from name, only one field has been completed. Yep. The rest have all been left blank, and they're there for a reason, like Councillor Madden asked for the exact wording. I mean, that's what the form is there for. So these incomplete applications shouldn't be coming to council. It would also help with us, I know under our policy it's not mandatory, but it's suggested that the person, you sort of wait 12 months after the person has passed, and I don't know if that's happened. I think there's a mention that it's less than 12 months, but I don't know how close it is. Was it? So that would be handy to know as well. And any documentation, part of this form is for any documentation for this seems like a very well-off person of Rosewood, would be really great. I couldn't find anything when I did a Google search.
And personally, I'd also like to know the information that's on the existing plaque that it refers to in the application. So that would be useful if we're going to put an additional plaque, that it's not conflicting in any way. And not that I'm suggesting that it is, but it would be helpful to know that as well. So do we require anything to be done in relation, any motion to have that deferred, or we just, everyone's in agreement here that it be deferred to a future meeting?
Well,
to the
could I
August?
just suggest that perhaps be a consultation with the divisional
Councillors.
councillors and the mayor?
As a recommendation, or?
Yeah, to defer it until a future meeting, and that consultation with the two divisional councillors and mayor occur before that meeting.
Would you like to move that
Yeah, I
as a
move
motion? And have you got that? Sorry, I've got to put my glasses on and off all the time. My apologies. I can't read with them. I can't read without them.
Chair,
Thanks, Mark. Sorry, apologies.
Chair, there is one problem. This is an application prepared by Glen Park. I think it should be up to Glen Park to amend the application, not council.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
So
To
perhaps the motion should be that Glen Park be invited to,
provide additional information.
well, complete the application, you know. Just questions like outline the person's or organisation's historical attachment to the area. It's blank.
Yeah.
What were the services to the community on, you know,
Yep.
they need to complete the form, and that may necessitate a fresh form being submitted to council. Because there's no real mechanism to amend a form. We don't have a mechanism to amend an application once we receive it. So I think Glen Park should be invited to submit another application, completed, and maybe identifying the areas of particular interest, perhaps a supporting letter, confirmation that the bottle tree was planted by him, you know, this sort of thing. So I think the appropriate thing is that we move a motion that we invite Glen Park to submit a new application.
Well, we do have a mover, which we haven't seconded that initial motion yet. So I might. Are you happy to move that as a block, Councillor Tully?
Yeah, well, I'm happy to include that the applicant be invited to, subject to the initial wording, be invited to update the application to comply with the requirements, to update or provide a new application.
Yeah.
If that's what the intention of Councillor Madden is.
I really think he needs to submit a new application. The application is so deficient. It's not like you can use whiteout on it or anything like that.
No.
I mean, he really has to submit a new application that complies with our policy.
Yeah, I must admit I'm not familiar with the person myself, or so we are flying blind to a certain degree. And again, not that we're questioning the bona fides of the applicant and the person that's posthumously named. I think we just need additional information.
And to be fair, Chair, it shouldn't get to the stage that it comes to this application comes to a committee and we have to tell our council officers that this application is deficient. You know.
I think that'll be noted for future. I would assume.
Chair, may I ask, was the applicant asked to fill out the form in total, or do we give any advice to them? Because obviously they put it back in January.
There was an exchange of emails, and then that was the extent to what the applicant provided. So technically he had provided further information, but it's not in the application form.
Okay.
And that's I take your points.
Thank you, Mr. Maston.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Mark.
Did you wish me to stay for the next one?
Oh, are you?
Yes.
I believe there'll be some questions in the next one as well from what Councillor Tully spoke of just before, so you may wish to remain. Before we move...
Can I just ask Mr. Baston one more question
Yes,
in
go
relation
ahead.
to the applicant? Is there any extenuating circumstances that perhaps was the reason the applicant decided just to try and correspond with you by email instead of going back and filling out the complete form?
No, none that I could
Okay.
speak to.
Thank you.
Okay. And look,
Can I ask a question?
it's an emotive issue by, I imagine, by the applicant. So, Mark, I'm sure you'll... Oh, thank you. Sorry, Councillor Cullen, I didn't realise you were speaking. Go ahead.
That's right. Did we, does the council do any background checks to check the validity of the claims? Apart from the emails trail that he sent through?
Yes. So I guess some background. Mr. Graham Park, who's passed, he is the son of, just get the details right. Mr. and Mrs. Parks, who planted the tree in 1972 at the service station, which is across the road.
Yep.
Then back in 2015, it was instigated through the former divisional councillor to relocate the tree, and that was gifted by the current owners of the service station. But in terms of that, content wasn't put into the application.
Okay.
And it's a very prominent tree, might I add, through the chair. It looks like a gorgeous prominent bottle tree, so.
Yeah. Does that satisfy your inquiry, Councillor Cullen?
Yes, Chair, thank you.
Thank you. So we do have a live amendment or recommendation that replaces the written recommendation. Are you happy to move that, Councillor Tully?
Moved.
As it stands, moved. That the matter be deferred for consideration at a future meeting of the Infrastructure Planning and Assets Committee, and that consultation with the Divisional Councillors and Mayor be undertaken, that the applicant be invited to provide a finalised new application form. Is there a seconder? Councillor Madden, any further discussion? There being no further discussion. Yes, sorry.
Chair, I just note we have the assessing applications for personal tributes in council's open space and road network procedure. Step 2 talks about the assessment application. It says meets assessment and diligence searches conducted by council. So if I just ask that the next time this comes to us, that is done by the council.
Yes. Is that noted? That's noted? Yep, thank you. No further discussion. All those in favour? Councillor Cullen?
Affirmative, thank you.
Thank you. That is carried. Item 6, I believe, is the next one. Very similar application, public monuments and memorial assessment of application. Is there any questions in relation to this matter? Councillor Tully.
Just looking through the applicant. Who's the applicant for this?
Louise, Mrs. Louise Manning. She's the chair of the Springfield Lakes Nature Care Incorporated Group.
Yeah, I note that on page 1 of the application, which is on page 98 of the report to us, but there's a different person mentioned on page 101 as the applicant.
I guess we're just going by in terms of the first section, which is the applicant details, which references Mrs. Manning.
The applicant details is Manning, and it's a husband who's the applicant declaration.
Yeah, okay. Now, on that page 101, under the word policy, section 9, it says the local and state government policies relating to new memorials. It says it's not a memorial. Is it a monument rather than a memorial? Because earlier on in the application they say that the person has since died. So the only person mentioned in this is Queen Elizabeth.
Yes, the former Queen, but it's more so, I guess it's a plaque in terms of the, to, I guess, commemorate, in terms of it's a Queen's Jubilee grant under the former Queen.
If I may, I saw something similar with the Vedanta Centre. If I could go through you, Chair. There were a lot of grants to mark the Platinum Jubilee of late Queen, and obviously, as it took a couple of years to roll out, she passed. So I know that the Vedanta Centre talked about the fact that it wasn't a memorial; it was still a commemoration of the Platinum Jubilee. So it was. So
commemorative plaque per se.
Yeah, that's what it said, and it's the same grant that this is. So there might be a number of them.
Just for this is my final question, just for the sake of completeness of the discussion with the one before, there's been no consultation with the divisional councillors or the mayor prior to this report coming up, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, the only question I have, if there's no further questions around the table, or Councillor Cullen, is the original funding model. Was there requirements under that model that there be some sort of signage or plaque to cover that you know, the grant.
I'd have to
or what
take
the
that on
grant did.
notice. Have to take that on notice and come back.
If there was, then maybe there's something definitely incumbent upon us. But if there's not, then we'd have to look at it on its individual merits. Any further questions? Yes, Councillor Johnnick.
Thank you. Just in relation to the actual plaque size wording, I understand the position. I understand the applicant wanting to have this commemorative plaque overlooking the trees that were planted in that corridor. But just wondering, because this is the first time I've seen it as the divisional councillor as well, and to understand what it would look like, what the wording will be, etc. I did try to find that. I just couldn't find it in the pack.
It's not in terms of the committee report, but the applicant has provided that.
Okay.
So I'd be happy to circulate that.
Okay, thank you.
We may, as this hasn't had any consultation with the divisional councillors as well, it might be best to take this one off the agenda just to have a look at the full merits of the application and have it represented.
That motion stage, once any other questions are finished, I'll move the motion.
Okay, very good. Is there any further questions, Councillor Cullen?
No, Chair. No, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. I understand we may have an amendment to. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
But thank you for your time.
Yeah, it's not an amendment. I'll move that the matter be deferred for further consideration at a future meeting, and that consultation with the divisional councillors and the mayor take place prior to the representation of the report. No, my wording was representation rather than submission. Or resubmission or representation.
You're satisfied with the wording that's presented there on?
Yeah, perhaps a hyphen after the word RE to make sure it doesn't read as representation, please. Thank you.
Fair enough. That's a good pickup. Very good pickup. You're satisfied with the motion, yeah, and that it be moved. Is there a seconder to that motion, Councillor Johnnick? Any discussion?
If I may,
Yes,
Chair.
Mayor Harding.
When the matter is consulted and comes back to us, I'm very keen because it's an Australian government program. How was council engaged? Was City Council engaged on the program at all? I do note here, I'm looking on the website now for the federal government's funding program. It says Her Majesty reached the Platinum Jubilee milestone on June 22 and passed away on 8th of September 22. So that's probably why the lapse. So I'm keen to know. And when I go onto the map on the website, I think there's only 2 locations in Ipswich that took up this matter, because I think each electorate had up to $100,000 for this. So the other one I know is the Vedanta Centre. So it looks like there's only 2 of them here in Ipswich.
Very good. Any further discussion? The motion is put. All those in favour? Councillor Cullen?
Affirmative.
Thank you. That is carried. Item 7. The provisional projects approvals or approval. Is there any questions in relation to the matter? There are 4 items listed in the recommendation.
Chair, maybe we'll look at each one individually? Are we able to move each of the 4 individually?
Well, I understand there may be some questions in relation to one of the matters that's within the recommendation. I'm just happy for for the matter to be discussed before we move forward. So if there's any questions. Is there any questions?
If I do,
Yes,
I have some
Mayor
questions.
Barding. Excuse me.
Sorry,
right.
Chair. I'd like to ask a question about item 2, the peace poll for Rebel Domain. Is it you, Mr Anderson?
Yes, thank you, Matt.
Through you, Chair, I might ask Mary to talk in detail.
Could you come to the... Oh, that doesn't work.
Good morning. I'm Mary Torres, Infrastructure Strategy and Planning Manager.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you,
Or
Chair.
Ms Torres.
I know it says installation of a peace pole. Is that a rotary peace pole? Is that...
So it is in collaboration with the Rotary Club. So the Rotary Club of Springfield did put in an application to try and do this in collaboration with the council, and that's why this has been tabled.
Do we have any images of what the peace pole looks like?
Yes, we do, Mayor.
Okay. I wouldn't mind having that, I guess, when it comes back. The other thing is too, well, how much is Rotary contributing to that? Is it the whole project, $15,000, or is it a $30,000 project, or...?
The Rotary Club was going to supply the actual pole itself, and the $15,000 is council's contribution for installation project management, doing the footing and finishing the project off.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms Tyson.
Is there any further questions in relation to that matter while Ms Torres is here? No? Thank you, Mary. Thank you. Is there any further discussion to the report at all? Sorry, questions in relation to the report at all?
Chair, if I may I ask for item 2 to be deferred to next month's committee meeting? I think there's a bit more information that we would really like to see.
I'd just seek concurrence from the Division 2 councillors before recommending that.
Yeah, I'm happy to support that if it's only till next month.
Okay. So would you like to move that, Mayor?
Yes, I don't know how it...
So that we...
I don't know whether we move recommendations 1, 3 and 4 together, but and recommendation 2 would be come back to the IPA, the August IPA meeting?
So the amendment is the removal of item 2 from the or sub-item 2 from the recommendation, and that it form a recommendation B, that it be returned, correct? Or represented. Re-presented.
Sorry for the English lesson today.
No, it was a good pickup. It was a good pickup.
Chair, there needs to be consistency with our motions when we...
Yes.
You should use similar wording when we defer matters.
Yeah. I don't know whether we should use the word item 2 in there. That the division, the
item 2?
installation, yeah.
It's item 2.
It's still item 2, is it?
It's item 2 on the matter. Deferred to the August meeting, I think.
To the next, or August meeting, yes. It's confusing. I don't know how that's going to read. I believe that's going right. Would that not require a re-itemisation of those item numbers above in recommendation A? Or need they be numbered?
I'll just check with the committee clerk if there's a more elegant way to...
It just
Show
looks
the
a bit
intent of council.
It sort of reads a bit reads a bit untidy, that's all. Yes.
Chair, it's just a suggestion.
1, 3, 4. So you should, I mean, do they actually require numbering in many respects?
No, it's
So
about
one, 2, 3, and then you just say that the installation of the other.
Yeah, we just, 1, 2 and 3, and then in the recommendation B, we just name the actual works rather than the item number. Otherwise, in recommendation A, you've got 1, 3, 4, item 1, 3 and 4, which, will that create any confusion at your end?
And it should be called a
Matthew,
rotary
no?
peace pole as well, because it is a rotary peace pole.
Yeah, full project name, yep.
Chair, Chair, can we add to that?
Yes,
just
go
ask
ahead,
them-
Councillor Cullen, your question?
Ask for a breakdown on the $15,000 to put a pole in the ground. If Rotary supplying the pole, it just seems like an excessive amount of money to stick a pole in the ground.
Yeah,
I think that's what some of the consultation's going to be between now and August,
yeah. It does look a bit,
as well as what Rotary's contributing to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps a back.
You wish to install it yourself, Councillor Tully?
Myself and Councillor Johnnick are happy to do that.
Might cost us
Me and
$15,000 to
I'll
repair.
supervise, Chair.
Fair enough. Okay, so the recommendation is now before us. The previous item 2 has now been put into the recommendation B. It now reads that the Division 1 matter being the storage facility at Redbank Plains Rec Reserve, Division 3 being installation of bollards for an overflow car park, and Division 4 installation of footpath Rosewood State School, and that B, that the Rotary Peace pole within Rubbell Domain be deferred to the next meeting. That's just the abridged version of those recommendations. But all those in, who moved that, sorry? I'll move that. Is there a seconder to that, to the motion? Thank you, Councillor Johnnick. Any further discussion? Yes, Mayor Harding.
Thank you, Chair. I just note that apart from the Rotary Peace Pole, which Councillor Johnnick has, and I've had quite a few discussions about, none of these had been consulted with me at all. And in particular, I don't have any detail. So I'll be voting in support of this because the councils are after this. But I think it'll be good even for transparency for residents to have a bit more understanding. So the extent of the existing storage facility would be nice to have a bit more information, the size of it and so on. I don't know if 11,000 is, as well as where the bollards are going, as well as a bit more about the footpath. That would be good to have rather than just a line item. It would be good for, certainly for myself, but also I think for the public.
Matt, that's noted, is it?
Noted, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, just for those in the gallery and those who may be watching, these provisional projects do require the involvement of the divisional councillors extensively. So I just want to commend the work of the councillors and the staff together to put these projects before us today.
If I could say,
yes,
Chair,
Mayor.
I'm a council for the entire city, so I do need to be consulted as well. So I am a bit disappointed that I at least was given a heads up, except for one of them.
Yes, sorry, Mayor, that is noted by the GM. All those in, if there's no further discussion, all those in favour of the recommendations? Councillor Cullen.
Affirmative. Yep.
That is carried. Item 8, the Asset and Infrastructure Services Department Capital Delivery Report. Mr. Anderson.
Chair.
Would you like to speak to it?
Not in detail. I'm happy to take the report as read, Chair, but unless there's any specific questions, I'm more than happy to respond.
I just note the it looks like a report or at the end. Was that to be as a presentation or?
No, just for noting, Chair.
I just want to commend the work that's going on. As I read the report, it looks very good. But is there any particular questions that we have?
Just a thank you from Jordan and Livia Jonick for keeping the flying fox at Richardson Park in Goodna. It all looks great, by the way. The works are done and complete, and the flying fox is still there. So thank you.
Is that a declaration of interest? Is it a relatable interest?
Yes.
Could I just add to it that the two children said they'd never vote for me once they get the voting age if it disappeared.
Is that a declarable interest on your part too? That said, we are referring to the game Flying Fox, aren't we? It is like an actual ride.
It's a piece of equipment at the park that's been there for a while and it's, stood the test of time.
Because I do note that Councillor Tully has tried to move a Flying Fox on or two in the past, so but you're keeping this one.
Yeah, there was a few thousand of them adjacent to this location, which are now gone.
Very good, very good. Any further questions? Obviously the recommendation is to receive and the contents noted. Is there any discussion?
After it's moved and seconded, I'd like to discuss the matter, Chair.
Oh yes, sorry, my apologies. I move the recommendation and it's seconded by Councillor Jonick. As the mover, I'd just like to say again, commend the work of our staff and the contractors involved. A lot of those projects are coming along very, very well. And further discussion. The seconder, did you wish to speak at all?
Just noting there is quite a few projects in Councillor Tully and my division noted in this progress report, and there's some large projects like Redbank Plains Road, obviously Springfield Greenbank arterial upgrade, and they're all coming along nicely. And I just thank the team again with what they say they're going to deliver. They're delivering. They're trying hard. There's a lot of contractors that they have to consult with. There's a lot of external stakeholders that come in on site. It's not just council that do the work. And so I just want to thank the whole team for all the effort and the continuation of these works. Thank you.
Mayor Harding.
Thank you, Chair. I'm really pleased to see that we have now received the waste truck replacements that we have had on order since 2022. Certainly COVID put a spanner in the works when it was a huge investment by the ratepayers of Ipswich, so it's great to see them out the streets. I also want to note that Council's now completed the $10.85 million worth of work on the Alice Street curb and channel and the South Station Road, Charlotte Street and Nolan Street Road resurfacing. And that is thanks to $4.65 million from the federal government on the local roads and community infrastructure program, as well as $6.2 million from the Ipswich City Council. And I also note too the work that's ongoing with Adelong Avenue and Thurgoona. That has been a project that residents have been asking for. We've had to do a lot of culvert work before we could actually do the road work. So I think the residents in Thurgoona and Division 4 are looking forward to that work. So it's great to see. Thank you very much, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Cullen, any discussion? He's getting a coffee, perhaps? Yeah, well, I'll just take this opportunity also to commend the work that that yourself, Mr. Anderson, and your team have done in taking over the Redbank Plains Road Stage 3, taking it on from the transition from All Roads, which were the principal contractor, which unfortunately weren't able to deliver for us. And I think that's been a quite commendable what's happened thus far and how well that's transitioned. And again, please pass that on to the staff involved, everyone involved. Thank you. So the recommendation is that it be received and noted. All those in favour? Councillor Cullen? I'm not sure whether Councillor Cullen can hear us. Is he still with us? Yes.
Affirmative, sorry.
You're welcome. Thanks, Councillor Cullen. That is carried. Okay. That is the items on the agenda. Now, any notices of motion? Any matters arising? Just in relation, I might raise that does the issue of theft of copper wiring, is that a matter applicable to this committee or is it another one?
No, this committee.
Yeah,
Chair.
I'm just wondering if the committee would like to see a report to how we're progressing with the replacement of some of those matters, the theft of copper wiring, and particularly what strategies we're looking to put in place.
Is that as a notice of motion or as a matters arising?
Well, as a matter of arising, and just putting it out there as to whether the committee would be interested in that.
Chair, I'd support that. I think the issue of theft of copper wire is far beyond just council facilities. I attended a meeting last night at Pine Mountain where I was informed the Telstra cable was pulled out, in a section of Pine Mountain Road, which meant 90% of Pine Mountain doesn't have a copper wire connection. What I'd be seeking, Chair, is a report from council officers of the broad range of copper theft. Consultation with the Queensland Police Service, consultation with Queensland Rail, and just get a picture of this, because I think it's a much bigger picture than it's a much bigger picture than I thought it was.
And may I just add, Chair, through the Chair, that the cost to council to replace, and then the cost on council's residents for loss of use of parks, if lighting has gone out, etc., so that we can understand it and maybe convey that message as well.
I think in general the ratepayers should be very frustrated at the cost it is costing us and our insurance in relation to it. But more importantly, or probably at the coalface, most people, their frustration comes from the fact that they can't play the sport that they ordinarily would at night time, or train, as the case may be, and as a result of the theft of the lighting and the like. So some sort of report to that effect. Yes, Mayor Harding.
May I make a suggestion? The quickest way for this to occur would be probably, we have an ordinary council meeting next week, so maybe put in a notice of motion. I think would the cut-off date be Wednesday or Thursday, CEO, for the notice of motion? And that notice of motion for next week's ordinary council could be that a report goes to the Infrastructure Planning as Assets Committee on a report, and including some of the consultation that Councillor Madden has.
Is that required? We just can't make a mention of a particular report for for a future meeting?
It should have been put to a week ago to the agenda, if you wanted to do.
Well, my understanding of matters arising are that we can discuss matters that are arising, like a general business matter.
Yeah, I'm not sure that that's right. I'd like to seek advice. Otherwise, it'd be renamed general business.
Yes,
I thought it was matters arising now from what either is on or previously on an agenda.
Councillor's
yes.
right.
Okay, fair enough. So, well, certainly it's. So what was your recommendation, Mayor?
I think the quickest way would be to do a notice of motion to the ordinary council meeting next week, asking for a report to come back to this committee on the matters. And I think you could just outline some of the things that you'd like reported on.
Will do.
Is it by Wednesday next week? But is it tomorrow? So tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow.
So when do the notices of motion
Close of business tomorrow.
Close of business tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. No problems.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
There's no further matters on the agenda. Before closing the meeting, we move a motion for the commencement of the next meeting.
Sorry, if I could, Chair. I think, did you bring forward a matter in regards to the Animal Management Task Force for this meeting? Oh, just for information.
That's correct. Yes, it was
Sorry, I
that
wasn't
matter
sure.
arising. Thank you. It wasn't. Yes, there was a matter of a recommendation of a letter to go from the LGAQ. It was sent to me as a representative of the LGAQ task force, just seeking the state do further consultation with the stakeholders in relation to the Animal Management Cats and Dogs Act, the changes that are proposed by the state in relation to that. The timing of that does not leave councils prepared for the implementation of that act, so they're just seeking further timeline. And if everyone's satisfied with the letter that was circulated, then I will respond accordingly to the LJQ that they forward that letter to the Minister.
I'm supportive, Chair. I think we need these measures to crack down on irresponsible dog owners to keep the community safe from dangerous dogs. It's disappointing the Queensland Government have not given council sufficient time to implement these new laws. Having only 1 week's notice on the extensive range of offences is unacceptable, I think, by any measure. So it's great to see some progress, but yeah, I would support the LGQ's position in going forward.
I believe that Alicia Connington is here. She's quite familiar with the matters that will affect us. If there's any questions we have of her in relation to that and some of those impacts that might, not just our council, but other councils in general, there's a number of very serious questions to be asked of this new, not the new legislation, but the changes to the legislation. Is there any questions? Everyone's satisfied with the letter being referred. Do we need a motion to that effect? Or is it just...
We've not done this before, I guess.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I mean, it is...
We normally would do like a flying minute around.
It was more of a discussion matter. Okay, then I will refer.
I'll be supportive of you going back.
Thank you. Do we need a motion for the commencement of the next meeting? Owing to the time being, we'll have a break of 20 minutes. Everyone satisfied with 20 minutes before the commencement of the next meeting? That's moved by... Sorry?
10:37?
10:37 recommencement or 10:40?
10:40?
Round it up.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mayor Harding. That was moved by Councillor Tully. And all those in favour? Councillor Cullen?
Affirmative.
Thank you. That's carried. The meeting is now closed. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you.